All right, well, the next topic, it's fairly timely that the Paris Summit's happening right now on climate change. And we were just looking at the number of billions of tons of CO2 pumped in the atmosphere. When I first started teaching this, I'm like, oh, good, look, it's going down. Well, we just looked at worldometers, and we're sort of, by 2015, we're still going up. Still going up, unfortunately, and these are all carbon-based fuels, as you well know. Here's a carbon cycle analysis that looks at both natural and technological sources. So we can see and really if you look here, I mean, I just kind of want to take a look at the big arrows. The one arrow that points down is photosynthesis, in the sky anyway. Here's another one, photosynthesis in the water. This is something we hear more and more about. It's just the fact that when there's carbon dioxide in the air and there's less carbon dioxide in the water than there is in the air, it's going to go into the water. Any substance is always going to choose its path of least resistance and move to a point where everything is thoroughly mixed, more or less. So here's your carbonates in water. Most of the other arrows point up. Respiration, transportation, fossil fuel combustion. Here's a few natural phenomenon. If you look here, you can see that death and decay point both down and up. I know that happens in my compost pile. It gets really big when I put a bunch of stuff in there, and it goes somewhere. I mean, most of it's just respiration, but I think it'd be fun to do a little carbon capture on your greenhouse. Yeah, I've got a bunch of old, like the bags of wine and things like that I think you could. In fact, I was just sitting in my office earlier, and I got one of the little jar in my office. Little ball jar got hot enough that the top of it buckled and shot something. So just driving things thermally and pneumatically, I think, is going to be a big trend soon if we get our act together. And the other thing is, if we look, we've got 7 units, if you will, pointing up and only 3 pointing down. So obviously there's a net flow of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, as we well know. Okay, so here's relative forcing. I want to point your attention here. This is the anthropogenic forcing. There have been a lot of scientists lately who want to name this era on planet Earth the Anthropocene, the time of man, and we're coming out of what's called the Holocene, which was the calm period. There's the Pleistocene, the Jurassic, et cetera, back there, but you see that word, you're like, okay, so maybe we are, in fact, in the Anthropocene. There have been several Anthropocene groups formed.
It would have to be the final period, right? Because after that period would end, there'd be nobody to...
Yeah, no one to write about it, yeah. Yeah, until unless the insects get really smart. I've seen a lot of big bugs lately. Maybe the insects are going to grow brains, and we'll have the Insectocene come online next.
Star Trek before.
Yeah, Star Trek people, right?
Yeah, these talking bugs, fly spaceships.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of neat too. It just shows the level of scientific understanding. I mean, we know what CO2 does to the atmosphere. We know what NOx do. We know what methane does. We're not so sure about ozone. It does one thing. It does one thing in the stratosphere, right? It cools us. It does a different thing in the troposphere. It warms us. Surface albedo. So this is how much snow there is. If you got a lot of white concrete around, it can reflect sunlight back. If you got a lot of black asphalt, it can suck it in. There it is. Black carbon on snow or black asphalt. Total aerosols. This is also, there's some people out there that think that airplanes are now ejecting what they call the contrails or whatever. I've talked to a lot of scientists who are like, if it's happening, I would know about it, but who knows? But this is aerosols in the effect that actually cool the Earth's surface. There have even been some engineers saying that if we were to take something about the size of a garden hose and elevate it, lift it, send it up by a balloon up to the atmosphere, and just sort of squirt sulfur dioxide into the high upper atmosphere, we would be able to start cooling the Earth. So there are some engineering approaches to just artificially do exactly this, and then you get to burn all the carbon you want.
There is a fix.
Yeah. And, well, here we go. Aircraft linear contrails. And then, so our understanding is low, very low. Solar irradiance, obviously, that's warming the Earth. And I'm not sure why that's such a low understanding, because I thought that was fairly well understood. But that's the one, all of this other, most of this other stuff has been human forced. And the net is that we are, now you look at this, you say, well gosh, what's that actually mean? Well, we know that the solar constant is about 1,000 watts per square meter, so it means we're forcing it by 0.1%. All right. You could look at these as a big set of social costs, or and I think the target there in Paris is to hit this magic 2 degrees. Beyond that, you've got reconfiguration of coastlines, big ecosystem problems, food problems, et cetera. So I think this is really why our leaders are now sort of looking towards that 2 degrees as a target. Okay, I know we're out of time, but here are a few other sources of emissions, then I'll let you go. I'm kind of off into 3.5 here. I was just looking at India, which is going India's actually scheduled to build a whole bunch of new coal-fired power plants. I'm not sure if you heard or not, but it's just kind of the exact wrong thing you want to hear. But they're like, hey, it's our turn. We need to make stuff. We need to turn the lights on, and coal's still cheap.
That's the whole thing. Even though they're behind the curve on technology, now that they are behind the curve, it's cheaper for them to build that. The technology is already developed.
You would hope so. Yeah, you hear about that happening in African countries where they skip the whole landline thing and go straight to the cell phone. So, yeah, maybe some cool whiz kid entrepreneur, Elon Musk of India, is going to figure it out and take the whole joint solar. That'd be great. Not mess around with the coal. Here's the social cost. People dying because of air pollution across the UK. Years of life lost.
What's the time span of that?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that here. It says in Europe pollution standards.
Year 2005.
Like, is that just water, or is that?
Or you mean exposure for that year?
Yeah.
Because it's different for everybody. So you're just saying in 2005 you were exposed to that whatever pollution in the UK in the red zone, you're going to lose 500 years. Is that off the total population?
Well, that is a good question, and
You can't take 500 years off of a single person.
That's right. No, you can't.
What would that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I'm assuming that's total. Like saying somebody was supposed to live till they were 80. person A was supposed to live till they're 80, but they only lived till they were 79, and person B was supposed to live till they were 80, but they only lived till they were 78, so then, that'd be 3, and it's just total population, so certain parts, you took about 500 years off your population for that area.
Yeah, and I don't know, so I'm also looking this, some of the higher population densities, you have higher, bigger numbers of life lost. I think that's just because there's more people.
Yeah, well, yeah,
It's
obviously in London, in the UK, there's a big concentrated population, whereas,
It's hard to know relative to what, too, because you see, you go back several thousand years, and we're living longer anyway.
Life expectancy is a lot.
I mean, the fact that people actually do live in cities and have access to hospitals and aren't, dying of infections out in the woods, we've added that by urbanizing, but then, you look at some of this and say, well, gosh, the concentration of pollution, and then taking that away. So it's pretty tricky to do this kind of math, I agree. Okay, this is UK. So this is actually some pretty good news. So shown at least in the UK, emissions have improved dramatically. So that's some good news. And then finally, there's a few things on nuclear risks across fuel chains. Biomass harvesting can be dangerous. So can all of these technologies. Working on wind turbines. One of our own alumni just almost lost a finger working on a wind turbine down in Nebraska, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Got his hand mangled. No,
I've been looking, and there's a lot of open positions for turbine techs right now.
yeah, there are. Yeah, there's hundreds, if not thousands, across the country.
Some of them are, farm specific, and some of them are, companies that are, traveling. It's traveling positions.
Yep.
Most of them are in the Midwest,
Yep.
Oklahoma, Nebraska, Iowa, stuff like that, where
Yep.
wind farms are. But
Minnesota is a huge increase right now.
Yeah.
Like 600.
right now, there's a job opening for one at Arlington.
Yep.
Gap.
Yep. Yeah, I'm surprised Ryan Carson didn't take that. I think he was talking about it. I think he's somewhere traveling around. I think he wanted to get a different taste other than Montana for a while. Okay, guys, we don't have time to cover it, but there is the energy return on energy invested. I know we've mentioned that previously. You've got to get more out of it than when you put into it from an energetic and a financial standpoint. Right now, we're looking at the Three Gorges Dam. This is in China. So, you say, well, let's just all go to hydro and get off the carbon drip. Well, there's ecological implications for that as well. So, all right. Sorry we didn't have more time today. It's just been kind of a busy week, but this is a really important chapter. Finish reading it, and then start to take a look at remedies, chapter 14. I think this is where we are going, where we need to be if we are to avoid some of the dire predictions that we're seeing, and move.
Problem set 3 is due on the Tuesday finals week.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, and also I just want to say this for the general class. I think we've got maybe a dozen or so students in the class. So if you're following these videos, everything's due by the end of the semester. I know I'm a little behind grading a few of the things. If you've got a pesky grading issue you want me to address immediately, I can. As you know, we're under a little bit of pressure from main hall right now, so that's been a bit of a distraction. But I always get everything graded by the end of the semester. Everybody gets their grades. If something comes up and you don't like your grade, we can change it. Show me the evidence that you. Show me the evidence where I might have made a grading error, or you deserve some credit where I didn't give it to you.
So problem set 3 is just a normal assignment. That's not the.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
optional final.
That's right. Problem set 3 is just a normal assignment. Excuse me. And the final will be during finals week. I'll send that schedule out shortly unless you've already seen it. and it's not mandatory, and you can take it, face-to-face or online, and it's just a bonus, won't count against you. Okay, thanks.
Then